That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
There we go. Now. All right, we have a quorum. I'd like to call this meeting of the TIRZ 1 to order. And the first thing we've got is, well, are there any public comments? We'll start with that. The public doesn't like us. Item 3 is the minutes consideration. And action on the minutes from December 2nd. Okay, we have a motion approved by Mr. Bogard. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Richards, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item 4. Excuse me. Item 4, orientation. Review of and discussion on the purpose, roles, responsibilities, and functions of the tax increment reinvestment zone number 1 board of directors.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to take a moment to introduce Anna Rodriguez. She's our community development coordinator. And so this is her first time. It's going to be opening this item in front of the TIRZ 1 board.
Okay, good morning. So today I will be providing your annual orientation and give you a high-level overview of the zone and the board's responsibilities. Okay, so background information, the City Council Resolution 15-24 requires all city boards to receive an annual orientation to introduce board members and to review their responsibilities, as well as to review the zone's previous work and significant agreements. And this policy also requires a one-time open meetings training, which will be scheduled through the city secretary office. And additionally, the state requires a conflict of interest training for disclosures, and it will be handled by the city attorney, and this occurs in September. Now, the TIRZ 1 has a 9-member board with 2 state appointees, 6 city appointees, and 1 Fort Bend County appointee. In 2003, rules and procedures were established to guide administrative and operational procedures. And this document establishes an October to September fiscal year with quarterly board meetings. It also dictates that the city will serve as investment officers on behalf of the zone and will abide by investment policies. And finally, it outlines that the board will approve their annual budget by September 30th each year. Now, this is a map of the zone. The zone encompasses the area known as Town Square, which you can see here. And the map also reflects the tenants as of 2023. You should have copies on the table as well. And the zone was created in December 1998 with Ordinance 1149. Which established a 63.4 acre zone with a 9-member board, which was set to expire in December 2024. At this time, the city was the only participant and agreed to contribute 100% of the increment generated by property taxes above the base value. The base value is $5,570,200, and this is the same for all the participating entities. The creation ordinance was amended in January 2000 by ordinance number 1229, which reduced the acreage to 32 acres and extended the zone's expiration date to December 2025. So in 2001, both Fort Bend County and LID 2 agreed to participate in the zone at 100%. And through the participation agreements with the zone, they kept that same base value of 5.5 million. The participation agreements also gave the county the right to appoint 1 member to the board of directors. The final project plan was approved in March 2002, and it outlines the town square plans for a mix of retail, restaurant, office, hotel, and public space, all in a neo-traditional urban style downtown development. And the zone is responsible for funding roughly 11.5 million in public infrastructure, with the zone to reimburse the city for funds made available to the developer by the city as originally intended in the 2001 development agreement. So the 2001 development agreement pledged 11.5 million in the zone funds back to the city, and it established some triggers for the city to reimburse the developer. And due to the zone exceeding the expectations, a second amendment was approved in 2005 that advanced the developer's reimbursement schedule and dedicated an additional funding to 400 spaces in the parking garage for the conference center. Now, when it comes to Town Square Plaza events, the board approved 2 separate contracts in 2010 to support the events in the plaza. The first contract is with Town Square POA, for which the zone has historically budgeted $250,000 annually. The dollar amount is not set in the contract and is based on what the TIRZ elects to budget for it. As a reminder, last year, the board approved an increase to this budget, which PCD will go over in more detail later on in this meeting. And as outlined in the contract, 30% of these funds can be used for the administration. In order to receive the payment each year, the POA must submit their annual budget and present an update about the previous and future events to the board, which will typically occur now in June. So the other contract is with the city, for which the zone budget $70,000 annually. And similarly, the city must submit their annual plaza events and budget and present an update about previous and future events to the board in order to receive this funding. So this would be city events like Halloween Town, the tree lighting, and New Year's Eve. In 2003, the city and the zone approved a support services agreement, which allows the city manager to make expenditures in the form of materials, facilities, and support personnel for the zone through the annual budget process. The expenditures are capped at $25,000 with $10,139 budgeted in FY23. Now, support personnel and services includes the general administration, financial services, legal services, and the administration of contracts and projects. And economic development provides administration, financial, and budget also provides the financial services, and our legal department provides the legal services. In regards to why support services reimbursements are higher in FY23 compared to FY22, the support services reimbursement line is based on a cost allocation plan. And in FY22, the $2,594 was reimbursed to other departments for overhead services. Since more overhead services were provided by other internal service departments to help TIRZ 1, the allocated cost increased in FY23. Now, each year in September, the board will approve the budget. For FY23, revenues are estimated at 2.54 million and expenditures are estimated at 2.51 million. This gives us an estimated funding balance of 107,000. So since our revenues were at 2.5 million, the property taxes were $2,535,658, and the interest income was $500. And to break down our expenditures, the SLDC was 2 million, SL4B was $145,008, and the POA contract was $284,297. Now for city events, it was 70,000. Support services, $10,139. Insurance was $2,000, and contractual services were $130. Now, for the annual report, the zone's annual report is a requirement of Chapter 311 of the Texas Tax Code, and it displays annual revenues, expenditures, debt, captured values, and taxes collected. The board will make their recommendation to City Council for approval of the report in December. And upon council's approval, copies of the report will be sent to the state comptroller and all taxing entities of the zone. This includes Fort Bend County and the Drainage District, Fort Bend ISD, and LID 2. And for the board calendar, so the board meets on a quarterly basis, typically at 8 a.m. the first Friday of March, June, September, and December. The March meeting was canceled, so our calendar will look like this. And in June, the board will receive their annual orientation, elect officers, and receive the Town Square POA presentation for funding. In September, the board will approve the zone's annual budget, and this includes the city's presentation for PLAZA event funding, as well as receive their ethics training. And lastly, in December, the board will make their annual report recommendation to City Council and receive a development update.
Thank you for your presentation. Does anyone have any questions for him? Thank you very much. All right. We're down to item 5, the election of officers, consideration, vote and action on election of a vice chairman and other officers as deemed necessary.
Okay, through the creation ordinance, the board is authorized to elect from their members a vice chairman and any other officers as the board sees fit, while City Council has the right to appoint a chairman each year. The board last elected position 8, Laura Richard, as vice chairman in June 2002, and City Council appointed position 1 representative, Donald Smithers, for a term ending in December 31, 2023. The chairman's role is to preside over the meetings. The board signs all documents and requiring the execution on the board's behalf. The vice chair is responsible for these duties in the chairman's absence. At this time, if there are no questions, I'll turn it over to Mr. Smithers for nominations.
All right. Let's open up nominations for the vice chair.
I nominate that Laura stay on as vice chair. She's been doing a great job.
Because I do so much.
Second that.
Do we have any other nominations?
Oh, goodness.
If there are no other nominations, I move nominations closed. All in favor?
All right.
Okay, congratulations. Okay, that was a tough fought battle.
Yeah,
You know.
It was.
Best campaign of my life.
That was a tough battle. All right. Item 6, consideration of an action on the fiscal year 2023 Plaza events. Annual payment in the amount of $284,297 to the Sugar Land Property Owners Association and request expenditures in the amount of $312,950 for the Sugar Land Property Owners Association. So you all gonna tell us why you earned that raise, right?
That is absolutely correct. And it's not the first half and why we should earn the second half later on, of course. Good morning, everybody. My name is PLAZA. I've had the pleasure of having this position for a year now. And but actually I started with all of these event programmings with the city close to now 17 years ago. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here today. I'm really, really excited to share some of the great successes we've had this past year. Before we dive in, I wanted to revisit the overall goal that was enacted close to 20 years ago, like we just heard from Anna, when designing the PLAZA event program. As we all know, the primary goal to this is to promote Sugar Land Town Square with a goal to create an entertainment and shopping destination by using events to generate that positive foot traffic that impacts not only our first floor retailers, but also the well-being of our office tenants, thus creating economic development as a whole, all while being fiscally responsible and serving as a community space that is truly reflective of why we call Sugar Land our home sweet home. I'm going to go over some of the successes, some of the challenges that we've seen this past year, and then of course we'll go through some of the numbers and the data. We committed to a lot of things last year, and it was a very exciting year, a little exhausting, but a very exciting year. And we're still kind of in the thick of it as well. One of the things that we committed to was a lot of more cultural events. And I'm proud to say that we hit it out of the park with this one. We had our very first ever Dia de los Muertos, or a Day of the Dead celebration for this event. This brought in over 7,000 individuals, many of which we just recognized through their questioning of like where to park, where the restrooms, that are brand new to the space, that had never actually ventured out from the Fort Bend County areas into Sugar Land. So we thought that was very positive. To host the event, we partnered with the Sugar Land Heritage Foundation, who programmed the entertainment with mariachis, Ballet Folklorico, the Hano Band, Aztec dancers. These pictures in the slide really don't do this event justice. For activities, we had traditional food vendors, children's loteria, which is bingo, I guess you could say, face painters, photo booths, and walk around entertainment, giant stilt walkers dressed in like mariachi and, traditional Mexican attire. We also featured, the significance of cultural zone that showcased the significance of the event. We explained what an ofrenda table is. So it was also educational as well. And this is all in partnership with the Heritage Foundation. Needless to say, we are planning on bringing this event back in this calendar year and as well as next calendar year as well. So be on the lookout for our date, which is October 22nd. Yes, 2023. Then in November, as we committed to, we hosted our first ever Small Business Saturday on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. This is historically when we've never done anything in the past. And we said, okay, there's a space there, there's a need there, let's go ahead and plug that in. Our first Small Business Saturday, we had about 75 vendors, some of which were actually some of our, hard good tenants here. But as you may recall, it was raining all like the whole week leading up to that Saturday. We actually had to shift the event time from noon to 5, which was originally scheduled, to 1 to 6, because we wanted to miss that rain, and we missed it by an hour. It's, technology, space city weather really helps out a lot. So one of the things that we did, aside from that, we had a tremendous attendance come out. People, I think, were just wanting to come out. We saw about 2,000 individuals come out specifically to this event. So we're like, this is a great idea. We're seeing some positive impact. Our tenants are interested, except for rain. So we said, hey, why don't we do a Mother's Day market? And although this wasn't something that we promised last year, we actually wanted, to just be flexible with the programming. And so we did it. And then the rain happened again on the Mother's Day weekend, to the point where we actually had to cancel or reschedule our Friday Divas concert with Mariah Carey person here, who's phenomenal. And also our market here, we had to transition to the Marriott. The Marriott allowed us to use the conference space. They're a great partner to work with. We did some promotions and some pushing. We did anticipate, just because of just the amount of rain that was happening that day physically out in the city, throughout Houston area, we did anticipate, and we knew that we were going to have a lower attendance than we did. So we calculated about 500 to 1,000 people for that one. We still had a good response overall. We actually did have, again, some tenants backed out. But for the first time ever, we have a new tenant, Performance Pilates, and they're like, you know what, let us try it. They were out there and they were selling their packages that they only do during their Black market sales. So this is a really good opportunity for individuals, for our tenants to actually do that, twice a year promotional offers. Despite the rain, we'll pray for better weather. We do plan to bring these two events back this next year. Well, November, and then of course in May of next year.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes, sir.
If somebody wants to be a vendor at one of these, who do they reach out to?
We partner with an organization called Vibes Market.
Vibes? Okay.
Yes, Vibes Market. If you are a town square retailer, you work through us. We just give her the list. She saves your spaces, and then we do turnkey service, which I would actually go over in a little bit of what we offer. But Vibes Market is the organization that we partner with to bring this curated talent. And like I was mentioning, I started this position in February. It was dead during spring break last year. I committed to doing a spring break series this year, and I am so happy that this team worked so diligently on this programming. We had over the course of the week, so Monday through Friday, approximately 2,000 individuals that came and actually participated in these events, with the majority of the individuals coming in on that Wednesday when we featured the dinosaurs. This was regionally drawn attraction. They did a phenomenal job. They stayed over an extra half hour, 45 minutes. We got a little bit of pushback from them because it gets really hot in those light costumes, but they weren't costumes, they were real dinosaurs. And so we had, dinos in the plaza. Like, how can you not have fun with that? Kids were just mesmerized and amazed. Again, we hosted this during the lunch hour. This was, 11:30 to 1:30 programming. We didn't want to disrupt any of our businesses, our office tenants doing regular business, because this is during the week. Not everybody has spring break off. Perhaps the biggest indicator, in addition to the attendance and the draw, was a statement made by that she's the owner of Babies, Kids and First. Babies, Kids and First, yeah. She said that in the past, historically, she might as well just shut down the store during spring break because she doesn't necessarily have anybody coming in through the space. But for the first time ever, like she said that, for the first time ever, they actually saw sales and an increase in foot traffic through their store. So that in and of itself actually is a true testament of how positive this series is to our retailers. It also helped individuals who like to loiter around during spring break and have nothing better to do than just kind of hang out. The little kids apparently scare away some of the big kids, some of the big kids too. But essentially, this is a phenomenal event. We do bring this back. We want to actually market this a little bit better next year by actually hitting a little bit more of the Houston metro area, the Katy area, as well as Pearland, to draw in those individuals into our property. We also committed to hosting an innovation themed event, which we did by partnering with the city and Innovation Spark organization to bring what we called Innovation Spark Fest here at Sugar Land. We had approximately 2,000 individuals come out and watch bot challenges, a Make Your U bus, which is a giant school bus that's redone with tinkering and soldering and just a whole bunch of little things that you can do. We had a pitch competition hosted by Houston Community College. And then we actually had robots strolling. I don't know if you can see that one at the top there. They're petting a robot. Yes, and we had a giant eyeball that was kind of a little on the scary side, but hey, creativity and innovation, that's our thing here. We partnered with Guru Burgers, Jimmy John's, and Kilbus to be our premier food vendors for this event. We do plan to bring this event back in 2025. One of the things that we saw this year was challenging for people to understand what is an innovation Spark Fest. Like, it's not that's not something that comes to people naturally. So now that we have content, we're looking at utilizing more of this content into the actual marketing so people fully understand what the event is about, and hopefully, solidify that great weather and then be able to bring in a larger audience and have greater participation from a lot of our local, like our hospitals and our school districts and, U of H itself. So,
Teresa,
yes, sir.
you say you're bringing this back in 2025?
I'm sorry, did I say 25? I meant 24.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I was wondering what the delay was.
No, sir. I'm just ahead of schedule. Perhaps one of my favorite subjects, art. I can't afford it, but I love to see it. We committed to enhancing the program in the plaza with utilizing art to help us commemorate significant global events that aren't necessarily something that you program like a concert around. And for our first installment, we partnered with Elizabeth Umansor. She is a local chalk artist who, right before this, she was being flown out to the TikTok headquarters in LA because they want to start working with her. She's just an amazing talent here in our local area. She portrayed for us a theme called Women Who Made History for International Women's Day. She painted portraits of Mae Jemison, Frida Kahlo, Rosa Parks, and Malala Yousafzai. So this is, it's hard because it was like large and it's hard to take pictures, but those are the images kind of running across this image here. And this is her actually creating each of the portraits themselves. They were very awe-inspiring. We got a lot of marketing or social media traction to this, just people engaging with the fact that we were commemorating and celebrating International Women's Day. Related to art, we are currently working alongside with FBIC to bring that young art talent here. A lot of the students have an amazing talent that they need to exhibit and showcase here in our space. What better way for us to be able to cultivate that talent, pieces that they work with throughout the year, and actually feature them as part of the themes to some of our events, or just as a standalone piece. As we know, school is out, so we'll probably see a lull, but our goal is to have this pick up come school year next year again.
I have a question on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any kind of a partnership with the art museum? With any of these art related?
The Art Museum TX.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do work with Anna, who is like, we consult with her and having to think of like what kind of art that we can
Okay,
do.
yeah, because she has so many resources.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so she actually pitched this idea to us that we're kind of cultivating right now. We need a little bit more manpower to make it
Okay.
work, but
Okay,
yes, we
Good.
do work with her closely.
good.
This wasn't necessarily a commitment that we made, but I did want to make sure that we mentioned this. We've had movies under the Moon series for more than 10 years now, and we came across the opportunity to upgrade the screen from an inflatable screen that's like projected towards the front to an LED screen. The upgrade in technology has helped us be really flexible with the start time of the event. In the past, we've had to wait until dusk in order for you to be able to actually see the image. Since the majority of the movies that we feature are children's movies or young family movies, that really presented a great challenge, especially in the summer months, where we were starting movies at 8:30, 8:45. And if you have 12 and under, that's usually right around the time that they start to come down. So you would be ending the movie at close to 10 p.m., which is really too late for the audience that we were trying to target. So we invested in actually partnering with a local vendor who gave us a significant discount for what LED screens cost. But it actually increased the cost from the inflatable to the LED. And so now we're able to start movies in the bright daylight. You can't see it because this picture is a little bit misleading, but there's still sun outside from this picture. We actually are able to start the movies now at 7, which means that they're over about 8:30. So people come in, grab a bite, 6:30, that's when the little ones actually eat, and then watch the movie. Some of them make it to the rest of the movie, some of them tap out and they head on home. So our goal right now is to actually see what this new technology upgrade is going to do to a lot of our restaurants during the summer months, and see if we're actually seeing some increase in sales. So we're looking forward to that. One of the other things is, we consistently work with our retailers to try and support their businesses as well. And we do that in a myriad of ways, and I'll go through a couple here. We have the Cinco de Mayo with Bar Louie is a great example. How we did this is we have the event from 4 to 9 p.m. where we provided the entertainment, both a young student organization that was showcasing traditional Mexican dances. And then we also brought in a salsa and merengue band to kind of hype and liven up the party for Cinco de Mayo. So we programmed that in the plaza and redirected some of the, I guess you could say, some of the positioning of the event design to kind of feed off into the deck area, which is what we reserved and helped Bar Louie extend their TUBC license into the deck area as well. So it was very seamless to the consumer coming in from the outside, but we helped them with the entertainment itself, the porter services for the event, etc. This also helped our retailer not only celebrate, an adult beverage drinking celebration, but they were celebrating their anniversary. I believe it's their 6th anniversary this year. And so this is just an example of that we use funding for. And then all of our retails, with all of our retailers, we offer very much a turnkey service when it comes to event infrastructure. Whether you are participating in one of the events that we program, we provide your tents, tables, chairs, your signage, your food permitting costs, and we actually help with the submission. With hand washing stations, which is mandatory as part of the health sanitation protocol, porter cleanup, things of that nature. That lessens the cost and the stress in order to get our retailers out into the events themselves. Mahesh's Kitchen is a great example of how this was taken. She took this opportunity. They hosted an event, Dandiya dance, traditional Diwali dance. And so they did their own event. they programmed it, they fenced it, but we provided this and more services for that event itself. That event brought in about 1,500 to 2,000 people over the course of the event. It added in cultural programming to the overall event programs where we were able to support them in their endeavor in pursuing the event. We actually committed to a couple of other things as well. We committed to showcasing global events like the FIFA World Cup. We had about 200 to 300 people. I'm the one taking a picture, but my mother's in that shot. It was fantastic. I don't know how to describe just the energy. Best World Cup game ever, ever. We also discussed, internally we discussed talking about the showcasing the World Series. We met with a couple of our vendors here, like Bar Louie, I'm sorry, like Baker Street and Flying Saucer. And they said, look, if you do an event, you're going to pull away from our audience. We don't want to compete with you. So we're like, okay. So what we just did is we tied it into the back to the end of our Day of the Dead celebration. I believe that's correct, Pam. Day of the Dead celebration. And we said, okay, we're going to do some kind of trivia games. And we had like Astros giveaways and it was fun and the kids had a really good time. And we asked some of our Space Cowboys questions as well as part of the trivia. This year, we also secured a contract with Event Pro, which is a venue management software. This will create the interface for the booking for people to be able to actually inquire of what is it that, what's available in Plaza? How much does it cost? A lot of our time it goes and asks and answering these basic questions. And people need answers right away because they're planning either an individual or an event or a community organization or it's a nonprofit. So this will help us actually, provide that immediate response almost virtually online. It also helps with budget management, the event management itself, like actually planning the event, creating our customer service management platform, our CRM, and allowing for online payments, which is very critical in today's age, because that's the world we live in. This is part of my training week. I just finished the first half of the training, and so I'm really excited to actually see this in full mode, in full installation come at least by the end of the year. We're still working towards getting a greater deck utilization, but we did have National Day of Prayer use this space in the past month. And like I mentioned, we are trying to better position some of our events to utilizing that space in more than just a viewing deck area. So we'll see. So a lot of successes, right? And a lot of things that we fulfilled with our commitment. But then we also have some challenges. One of the things that we committed to was exploring a shuttle service to Constellation Field. And in partnership with Visit Sugar Land and to their great vision, we hosted the first ever shuttle from Sugar Land Town Square over to Constellation Field during the Savannah Banana Games. And we sold a total of 52 tickets, which really to us just let us know that there was a low interest in the shuttle program from here to there. The length of the route was also a challenge. Unlike Smart Financial Center, we have a one early start time and one end time. Here you're having to do a lot of continual buses in order for us to be able to pick up individuals every 30 minutes because nobody wants to wait an hour for the bus to come back. So that increased the number of the buses that we were needing in order to fill that service. And so this was a very costly program itself. So we went back and we said, okay, if shuttles to Constellation Field are not really what we're it's not going to be as financially successful as we wanted it to be. And we're not seeing a lot of interest. The shuttle program was never a profitable endeavor. It was always we always were in the red. Yeah, we're in the red. So what can we actually do? So one of the things that we're thinking about incorporating is some of you have experienced this already, an Uber corporate account, where the corporation actually buys the Uber ride on behalf of the customer that you're serving. And with that, we are waiting on Uber to give us a call back so we can speak to a live person to see how we can make that work. So the idea would run just similar to lead to the shuttle. So you come in, you park your car here at Sugar Land Town Square, you dine, you have a great time. We'll get you your Uber to Smart Financial Center and we'll be back here so you can come back and get your car. There's no traffic, there's no impact. There's already pre-designed Uber lanes at Smart Financial Center. There's pre-designed lanes here as well. And then what we would like to do to entice that, the vision is to maybe entice it with come back for dessert, come back for a beer, depending on the theme of the the theme of the concert. A lot of the restaurants actually participate with the show producers at Smart Financial Center to be the location for the after party. And wouldn't that be cool if we were able to just pick up and drop off those individuals and amplify that promotion that our retailers are doing in partnership with Smart Financial Center as well. We don't know exactly how it's going to pan out. We don't know the fiscal numbers behind it just yet, but we are exploring that as an option. It would also help elevate the luxury level that the property is trying to get to. We are wanting to attract that, consumer that is willing to pay for that strong value, not necessarily just a discount per se. So we'll keep you posted on that the next time we present. And now the numbers. Throughout the years, we've used 3 metrics to identify the programs. So here, the program success. This chart showcases total events per year accounted for in fiscal year format, which is fairly close to calendar year format. So this past year, as you can tell, we had 305 and we're projecting to end this fiscal year with 200, and that's 87, not 67. That's a typo on my part. The small font got me, Mr. Smithers, you were right. I need to increase the font. 287 events. So if you kind of just look across the board, we are well above pandemic levels, even before that. This just lets us know people want to be out here. They still see Sugarland Town Square. This fulfills our goal of being a destination entertainment and shopping center that we talked about originally. Then we also have attendees by the year. We've hit a record year again, only being beat out by, I believe in 2017 was the last year that the city had the New Year's Eve event when it was like the biggest event. Yes, I'm gonna hit that. So that's the only year that beat us, right? But aside from that, like this is just phenomenal. We're expecting.
I think there were that many people there on New Year's.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, it's shoulder to shoulder.
Terrified.
Yeah.
yes, it was. It was.
Got a little out of hand.
Yes.
So this is what we're seeing. Again, we're just seeing an upward, take like the pandemic, of course, impacted us all, but we're just skyrocketing through these figures. New programming, new events. And perhaps for those of us that are fiscally responsible, not me, the attendance here cost per attendee based on our attendance and the overall budget. We are down to under $6, so $5.77. As you can see here, that's well in line with where we've been in some of our most successful years in the past.
What happened to that one year?
Yes, sir. That was the year we had COVID, where we couldn't have a lot of people out gathering in spaces together. So that was, you can tell the financial impact that the pandemic had. So for the rest of 2023, we would like to continue what we started, like the Day of the Dead, our markets, our partnership with NBIC, and the art program, our spring break series, and next year. And we also had success. I didn't do a slide on this specifically, but we've had tremendous success with a lot of tribute bands. I mentioned that last year. I wanted to package that up a little bit different this year. So I created the series called The Icons. And so we're doing tribute series to like Selena, Prince, which we've never had out here, Elvis, which we've never had out here. This weekend, we're having a tribute concert to Elton John, and the entertainer is Captain Fantastic. That concert's going to be awesome. Even if he just shows up and just says his name, it's going to be a great event. We also want to envision the shuttle program a little bit different, and I kind of touched base a little bit on the Uber account here. We want to experiment. Cultural events, but aligned with some of the classic rock events, but as well, we want to see what K-pop does at some of our concerts. Maybe a costume contest thrown into that as well. With the movie series, we've seen some successes, and with the ability to actually have an LED screen now. What if we were to do a TV series where it's called The Favorite? So whether that is the We Were on a Break episode from Friends, or the pivot, or having a voting competition of like what's the favorite Office episode, just the episode itself, putting it out, having a photo op, great, very adults, that reaching that older adult demographic. And then we actually want to play a little bit more and lean into the things that naturally occur. So whether it's the May the 4th This year, I believe May 4th is on a Thursday or Wednesday, and it was also the National Day of Prayer, so we couldn't do too much. But what if we were during, I think this year falls on Saturday, or Friday. We want to have a little bit of fun with this, but even if it falls into a day of the week, what if we were to have something during that lunch hour? Something Star Wars themed, or early a happy hour in the plaza that afternoon, just to get people out here that naturally gravitate to these organically occurring event phenomenons, I guess you can call them. It's also important to note that we also seen tremendous success for the programming like Party Brawl, the Boho Markets, and Oktoberfest. Although the majority of the funds for these events comes from the landlord, the Plaza event program, so the funding for this, supports these three events through logistical infrastructure like covering for the city services like the police officers, the city permitting, the porter services that we discussed, engineering support, and even staff support itself. So we're working in conjunction with our landlord to further amplify the megaphone that these events actually are in the Houston metro area. And now the financials. So we had here. We project to end the year with $660,000, $659 for as our income, and our expenses of $676,064. We have tapped into some of our reserves to be able to accommodate the two, to balance out the two. In 2023-2024, which is this upcoming year, fiscal year, we project that the SLTS POA is going to contribute $312,950. We are estimating sponsorship and outside groups at $40,000 each. We've decreased sponsorship and increased outside groups. We're getting so many individuals who want to just come out and utilize the space and book the space for this. So we've increased that, that figure itself. We left the word shuttle, but we would like to see what the shuttle program does, and it actually just balances it out. We want to see if this is something that we can do at a, not necessarily for a profit, but as at least a balanced program endeavor. And then we are asking for the TIRZ board to consider a contribution to match the SLTS POA, which is similar to what happened last year at $312,950 for a total of $730,900. How we're going to expense those funds is outlined here. So the event series, concerts, the movies, the TVs, spring break, things of that nature, $270,000. The landmark events, our infrastructure support to tree lighting, the markets that we discussed, the innovation fair, that is at 106. Our community events, that's at 26. Our retailer showcase is the support that we do to the major events, as well as the Day of the Dead. That's actually in there as well. Next year, I plan on taking that out and putting that as one of our landmark event categories, but just for budgeting purposes, we left it in there for this year. Media and promotions at $24,000. Admin licensing and other like our computer fees, like the event programming comes out of this. Staff personnel comes out of that as well. And then outside groups expenses, because we do have to pay for the police officers that show up and the team that actually works the space at $15,000. I know it might be difficult to know, but those two little bullet points there is we committed to keeping a reserve fund of $99,000, and we are able to do that this year. Additionally, due to prior years funding that we have savings from, we have $95,495 that we can allocate into reinvesting into the infrastructure of the plaza. As many of you know, back in, was it 2017, 2018, Wendy? We redesigned the plaza. A lot of our furniture has seen some wear and tear over the course. I mean, attendance is increasing, people are utilizing, et cetera. So we want to utilize some of this funding in order to be able to kind of reinvest back into our space with some new furniture. Tramontina actually reached out to us. They are one of our regional headquarters here at Sugar Land, and they are interested in donating a few of their curated pieces. And so we could probably utilize this funding to help complement their donation. So that was a very much a proud moment where we are once again showcasing that collaboration to bring in that economic development into this overall space.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
The $250,000 that was presented earlier on the budget, how does that tie back? I don't remember how this works. How does that tie back to this 312 number?
So the 250 that was mentioned by Anna,
Mhm.
that has been what historically the TIRZ board has contributed to the programming. I believe last year was the first year we asked for equal contribution.
Mhm.
And I believe that is because, and Wendy, correct me if I'm here. Sure.
Yeah, so 250 has been the amount for many, many years, and the concept was always that they would be matching. They would be a matching component, and so when the POA contribution went up, and that is the amount that's charged back to the owner of retail, and they pay 100% of a flat rate per the square footage of retail, whether it's occupied or not. So the owner of the retail is paying that. So that number went up. It was kind of flat for a while. The pandemic definitely slowed down that rate. But after coming out of that last year, they increased their amount. Last year, the estimate was 284, which was why that was the increase to 284 happened last year. The actual billing, there was some reconciliation of square footage and it actually went up. So the retail owner last year actually paid 298. Instead of the 284 is budgeted. And so there's some limits in the leases on the increase, but this year we're allowed with the increase to go up to 312, which would be the natural increase, just trying to continue to boost the programs and drive traffic. So, but 250 was definitely the starting point. But the premise was always that it would be a matching component.
Thank
Does
you.
that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure I understood that they really are the same numbers. It's just one went up. Yeah. Okay.
Is that Alan's that?
Yeah, so my recollection is it started at 200
Yes,
and was raised to 250.
right.
Okay.
The question that I would have is, as we were oriented a moment ago, there's 2 more years.
Mhm.
And this entity is dissolved, something like that. I forget exactly how the dates fall, but
Right. Yeah.
And there's going to be a point where the funding source from the TIRZ is no longer available. And I would be thinking that the POA needs to be moving away from the public funding, not seeking more. So that's an issue that's out there that at some point probably ought to be reflected in these decisions that we're being asked to make.
That's true.
Yeah.
Very true.
That's correct, sir. And we are in talks with the economic development team here in the city to actually be able to see how we're going to transition out of the TIRZ funding support that we have historically utilized.
And there may be other resources that are applied to it, but
Yes,
Not this
just want to
one.
make sure that we're moving in a direction that is
yes.
mutually beneficial for the long run.
And I think part of that really has to do with the continued increase on the retailer sides, because there are caps on what you can do annually. So we are pushing those numbers up because we know at some point the TIRZ contributions are going to go away. So it's really important right now to be aggressive in those numbers to try to make up as much of a difference as we can.
The second question I have is, to what extent is the TIRZ currently meeting let me rephrase that, meeting our target of funding the debt service obligations of 4A and 4B corporation? Is it 100%? In other words, if we're being asked to put more money into these operations, are we fully funding the debt service obligations of 4A and 4B?
Jennifer Brown is not here, but my understanding is that we are, because we have some reserve. But if that answer is wrong, I will be sure to follow up with the board. But that was my understanding, is because of some of the reserve that we have, that we are still able to do it. But yes, it does impact those.
I have a question as well. So on the income side, the sponsorships, I know you're raising that to, I believe, 40K. Are you seeing sponsorships level out, or?
Yes, we're seeing some leveling out of the sponsorships. We get a lot of requests one of the challenges that we're seeing is, how do we help our sponsors meet their metric goals?
Sure.
And I really do feel like that's the first question that I ask, what's going to be your measurement of success here? And it's going to vary from sponsor to sponsor. Some sponsors, which are included in the 33, just want a booth space and they want to
Mhm.
bring awareness to the product. Those are we get a lot of those.
Okay.
And those are very small number
Oh,
of types of booths.
Yeah.
The big heavy ones, the big dollar ones are like our partnership with Houston Methodist here at Sugarland for their Neo Cancer Center. And they do a whole October breast cancer awareness month activation. And that's when you start to see like the bigs. But to negotiate those and to be able to provide the metrics they want, and that takes a lot more effort to be able to get us those bigger ones. So
Okay.
that's what we're seeing. It's about us. So to answer your question, we're seeing a lot of requests for small money. But we're
Okay.
not seeing a lot of requests for those big.
Okay. Okay.
I think the other component of that, and can you flip back to the next, I'm sorry, Ted.
No.
If you flip back and forth, you can see in the 2024 projection, we have sponsorships and outside groups kind of at
Yeah.
the same level.
Right.
But you can also see on the right column, outside group, the expense is $15,000. So there is profit in that area.
Right.
And so
Got it.
one of the benefits that we see in really working with the outside groups is that they're bringing in the programming.
Right.
And so they're really doing the
makes sense.
legwork on
Yeah.
creating these events. And Teresa's done a great job in working with community events and creating cultural events where they're doing the legwork, they're doing the programming, and then we can support them in different ways. So in some ways, those two do kind of mesh together. And so we feel like, the tide's changing a little bit from the standpoint of the sponsorship dollars. But being able to be a venue that outside groups can come and use this, and they're bringing activity and filling the weekends and bringing people here. So they're doing part of the promotion ourselves, whereas with a sponsorship, we're doing the full programming, you're doing all the legwork, and then you get someone to pay a portion of a commitment. So those two things really, really work together. But we definitely have seen over the past few years, the outside group interest in coming here has changed and is increasing. And again, it kind of helps from a programming standpoint that they're doing the legwork. And we're providing the venue and making money from that.
Great. Thank you, Wendy.
So this would be the example of Mahesh's Kitchens, Diwali thing, right? Where they would give a certain amount of money to get those services, but you would make money off of that. Okay.
Yeah, another good example of that one is the Eid celebration that we just had with Hum FM Radio, Rehan Siddiqui. So he promotes the event, programs the event, brings in a talent from either India or Pakistan. The event is filled, the plaza is filled with about 3,000 individuals. And he pays for the turnkey service as well. So where he's paying for all of those services. So, sir. Is there any other questions that I can answer?
I want to acknowledge what appears to be a significant effort, both on the part of the management of the district, the occupants, the POA, the new ownership, whoever it is that is in charge. Congratulations, because you are, in my opinion, making a significant impact on the excitement level that is occurring in the district from my perspective, and certainly want to send a positive response to the request. Is this a budget amendment?
So.
No, this is a request that then we will incorporate into the next
Or
budget in
next
September.
budget,
Yes,
Not current budget.
correct. Like this,
Got it.
what the amount that was approved last year will get paid out, the 284.
Right.
But the 312 is the request that will be incorporated into the FY24 budget.
Okay, because it's almost budget. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. Most of these meetings in the past have been 15 minutes and we're gone. But
Yeah.
This has been an hour. It's been really
Sorry.
interesting.
I didn't think of that.
So thank you.
No, it's good.
Done great work, a lot of teamwork. Just want to introduce one of my coworkers, my right hand in all of the programming, and Pam Spencer. She is a bulldog. And she comes up with some of the craziest ideas and she's so much cooler than me. So this is a lot of her vision as well. Is there anything else that I can answer for the board, Mr. Chairman?
Anybody else got any questions?
Do you need anything from us in terms of response, or
Do we need an
is this
official
just a
vote?
discussion?
It says action on,
Yeah, it's action on the annual payment, so in that amount of 284, so for the FY 23. And then requesting the expenditure amount of 312, which we will then incorporate into the FY 24 budget.
So we will have to have a motion for that.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the payment for this year and consider as part of the budget process, the payment increasing next year.
Okay.
As recommended.
I can second that.
Second. Any further discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So be it.
Thank you very much.
All right. We've done everything we're supposed to do for a change.
And in the right order.
Well, that's right. Yeah, I didn't even screw up today yet.
Yes.
So is there any other business that needs to come before us? Comments?
I think just a motion to adjourn, sir.
Motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? All in favor?
All right.
Okay, thank you.